I'm the Wrong Hero, and you are tuned to The Wrong Hero in the prestige publication of The Wrong Hero in the Republic's Nemesis. Only on Cafe Cabaret. The Wrong Hero is seen exclusively on the programs Cafe Cabaret and Noise Party, broadcast on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, respectively, on channels 55 and 55 on CCTV. Is this a candle? Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your wallets. On this great and historic occasion, I would like to ask the assembled who are gathered here today, as opposed to the assembled who aren't gathered anywhere, one crucial question. How many of you are too apathetic to respond to a direct question? Raise your hands. And how many of you would refuse to answer a rhetorical question? Don't raise your hands. I can see that some of you hecklers are still undecided. Very well. Good evening. I'm not going to make a speech because I'm sure you have a lot of questions. No questions? Okay, I'll make the speech. I would like to take this occasion, as opposed to some other even less appropriate occasion, to announce my candidacy for a presidency of the United States. I'd like to, but I don't have a chance in hell of winning, so I'll just waste your time for a while. If I may interject a personal commentary about myself and my candidacy, I am like the little engine who could, except my motto is, I think I can, I think I can, fail. Before I begin, I would like to preface my remarks by stating that the American people have grown cynical about politics. In fact, many people say they have no problem with the system, it's politics they can't stand. Well, I have no problem with politics, it's the system I can't stand. Or maybe I screwed that up, I don't know, I don't care. And anyway, American people are cynical about politics, and crackpot candidates like myself are just one reason why. Another reason is the perception, held by no one except myself, that politics is sports for people who are too fat to run. And politics is war for people who are too old, weak, and lazy to fight. I believe that a great deal of our cynicism about politics is due to our bloated and antiquated two-party system. On the one hand, we have the party of tax and spend, the Democrats, and gimme. And on the other hand, we have the party of soak the poor and give it back, the Republicans. Well, I believe it's time we elected, at long last, a government that responds to what the people want. Namely, unlimited entitlements earmarked exclusively for them at no expense to themselves. Sort of like Social Security crossed with a perpetual motion machine. Well, folks, the suckers in hell want ice water, but they ain't going to get it. What we really need is a government that looks to the future, an ever-changing future in which the same old stogie-gumming politicians get to run this country straight to the ground. Except this time, they're younger than us, or at least their wives are. I believe our founding fathers were very wise. Because they were such far-sighted visionaries, our founding fathers knew that someday they would be dead. Our founding fathers also knew that there's no such thing as a free lunch. And our founding fathers also knew that dead people don't have to worry too much about who picks up the tab at the all-you-can-eat buffet, or whether to put extra chocolate chimneys and nuts on their soft-serve cones at the Ponderosa ice cream bar. By the way, that reminds me of a humorous anecdote, but I'm not going to tell it to you now. Oh, all right, if you insist. A soldier goes into a soda parlor and says to the girl behind the counter, "Miss, can I have an ice cream sundae?" And she says, "Crushed nuts?" And he says, "No, shell shock." Well, it sounds like you're one of my constituents here. Anyway, I say it's time to give the voters of this great and hard-working country a chance to concentrate on the real business of government, which is basically to give superannuated war healers wearing fedoras bigger than their heads an opportunity to network so they can land cushy, no-show sinecures once the voters kick them out. Now you can see this is a really fat speech. Well, I've chopped out like 90% of it. I'm sure you approve. I don't take the issues seriously. What kind of fool do you think I am? I believe not in the issues, but in the intelligence of the common man. I am talking very slowly, not because I think you're stupid, but because I know you are. I'm just kidding. I am not the man who saves the cat from the tree. I am the man who cuts down the tree and kills the cat. So I make colorful copy, and I'm guaranteed to get lots and lots of press coverage. My goal in this race is to be more popular than the masters I serve. Global corporations. And some American ones too, because after all, this is America. If elected, I hope people will never say that I abuse the power of my office. And if they do, I'll get the IRS after them. I should mention, for the benefit of all you gun owners out there, that I like to drive my beat-up old American pickup truck with a homemade license plate that says militia. I like to park it in front of police stations too. Sometimes I go down to the FBI in Boston and park it there. Now, I hope to attract some volunteers, and I promise if you volunteer for my campaign, I will feed you Chinese food with no monosodium glutamate. That's a promise I can keep because I only go dumpster diving at the swankiest health food restaurants. Additionally, if elected, I promise I will not make intelligent decisions. I'll just give you what you want. I can afford to bide my time. I am a patient man. My motto is, Lord, give me patience. No! Some say I drive a foreign car. Some say I fathered an illegitimate son. That I released a convicted murderer on furlough. That I had electroshock therapy. That I steal free cable television. That I steal newspapers intended for recycling and sell them. That I blow my paycheck at the dog track. That I use illegal drugs. That I was arrested for drunk driving on a suspended license. That I trafficked in pornographic videos. That I raised taxes, cut police, resisted arrest, took junkets at taxpayer expense. That I believe in a double standard, visit prostitutes regularly, run red lights, eat veal, steal pennies from a blind man's cup. To all of these charges, I say, where's your proof that will stand up in court, you filthy monkeys? And that is one of the mottos of my campaign for presidency of the United States. Well, having listened this far, it's obvious that you're for me, and I'm for you. So what are you waiting for? Remember, after all, remember, if the election were held today, it would be November. sincerely. Am I creating the impression of sincerity?
Yes.
Thank you. You know, in 1980, Ronald Reagan defined the presidential race with a simple question. Let me ask you that question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Well, I hope not. Otherwise, how could I dupe you into voting for me? Now, if you do vote for me, I promise immediate action. On the day I'm elected, if elected, I will send every one of you a shiny new penny. Please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. Now, you may ask me, why didn't I run in the Democratic or Republican primaries? My answer is simple. I didn't leave the two-party system. I was kicked out. But I swear I thought those paper ballots were scratch pads. The fact that I just happened to write my name on all of them is just incidental. I say this, regardless of my outsider status, I will fight on. I was a fighter in the past. I'll fight in the future. If I'm not elected, I'll fight anyway. Let's face it, I just like to fight. And let me say this. If you don't want progress, vote for me. If you don't want much of anything, vote for me. I promise I'll never let you down. But I operate under a great handicap. Not the felony conviction, though I hope to reverse that decision on appeal. No, my handicap is the fact that I'm an outsider. And unlike all the other outsiders, I have the lack of money to prove it. Folks, an outsider like me finds out soon enough that politics is full of name-calling, lies, and gossip. These things do not deter me. They are why I am in the race. I enjoy name-calling, lies, and gossip because I am the wrong hero. In case you walked in late. My philosophies are also those of an outsider. I've never betrayed you before. Why not give me a chance? You don't expect a politician to be honest, and if elected, I will not buck a winning trend. In asking you to vote for me, I am appealing to your sense of fair play and intelligence. Give me job. I want it. It's mine. Give me job. That is the big truth of my campaign. Because the rules of the game of politics have changed. I am running because, like most Americans, I need a job. Any job. And just because I wasn't born into inherited wealth, that's no reason why I shouldn't start at the top. Now let me level with you. I am not addicted to alcohol or narcotics. I have not touched a drop of alcohol in 5 years. I've touched several bottles and drained them of their contents, but no drops. Oh, and as for the narcotics, I can quit anytime I want to. But I am addicted to an ideal. My ideal is simple. When I say frog, you jump! But never fear. As president, I will not bite the hand that feeds me. The meat is usually firmer and juicier further up the arm. As president, I promise I will always know the difference between the truth and a lie. Of course, I won't always act on it, but I promise I will always know the difference between the truth and a lie. As president, I promise to give you the government you deserve. But don't ask me to elaborate on that just now.
You fucking monkeys.
That's right, I'm getting to that part of the speech. This is my advance man. He hollers out all the best parts. Can I speak frankly for a moment? It may be the only time I ever do so. What really gets me, is that malefactors of great wealth and corporate polluters continue to befoul the very air we breathe, the very water we drink, the environment we'll be leaving as a legacy, not only for our children, not only for our children's children, but for our children's 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 to quote from the title of an old Moody Blues album. Anyway, it's a shame how these corporate polluters continue to make money by destroying our ecosystem. What really gets me mad is they're cutting in on my racket. It's got to stop, see? It's got to stop. And that's not right. And that reminds me of yet another seemingly interminable anecdote, which has only the most tangential connection to what I've just said. On the way over here, 3 chubby little girls at a bus stop took one look at me and sneezed. The woman I sat next to on the subway train started coughing. And now you're all staring at me and not saying anything. I don't know, maybe everyone is allergic to me. Well, I will deny this charge. At the very least, I will try to make myself heard over the sounds of your coughing and sneezing. You know, I was hoping to make headline news with this announcement of my candidacy, but right now I would settle for avoiding being arrested for vagrancy.
I know where to go.
So this time I will avoid asking for money. I do not want you to give me your money. I want you to give me your support. And if your support just happens to take the form of a cash contribution, preferably in $20 bills with non-consecutive serial numbers, if your support happens to take the form of a cash contribution, I will have to adjust to that, as difficult as it may be. And I will say that although I am reluctant to take your hard-earned money, I am certainly not too proud to accept it. After all, as we all know from the movie Seven, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, as is greed. Okay, let's start off the happy horse shit. Just give me your money. But I ask you, what do the Republicans have to offer the American people? The tune they sing is just an old fascist love song playing on the radio, courtesy of Rush Limbaugh. And what the Democrats have to offer is just the same old song with a different bleed since they've been gone. In my campaign, I solemnly promise that I will never commit the sin of asking you for your money only once. And I promise that I will not keep sloppy financial records. I will not keep any records at all. I promise to account for every penny you give me. I promise that every red cent of your hard-earned money will go straight into my pockets, where it will be safe and, incidentally, warm. And I won't make any promises I can't keep. I won't make any promises at all, except the ones that will get you to vote for me and my candidacy for presidency of the United States. And furthermore, I pledge that if I win $100 in a lottery, if I win $100 million in a lottery, I will give you $50. It's the least I can do. By the way, as an outsider to politics, I've never even been elected dog catcher. And if your dog could vote, I'm sure he'd thank me on election day. Now, if elected, I promise to always keep my hands where you can see them. Now, all across the land, as the millennium draws to a close, naysayers, prophets of doom, and gloomy gusses talk about the end. I prefer to focus on the beginning of the end. I do not intend to dwell upon the mistakes I've made in the past. No, instead I intend to dwell upon the mistakes I intend to make in the future. Now here's my plea. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for me, the wrong hero, in my candidacy for president. Now, for my Anglo-Saxon friends in the audience, I quote the words that Winston Churchill made famous. I have nothing to offer except blood, sweat, toil, and tears. And needless to say, I won't be opening up a gourmet restaurant anytime soon. And to my Hispanic friends who ask me if I know any Spanish, I know only a few phrases, but I believe they can convey the gist of my message. Crisco, dos cerveza, and empleanos laven los manos, por favor. Which translates to mean, Crisco, 2 beers, employees, please wash your hands. And that about sums it up. By the way, if there are any reporters present, I have this to say. I have here in my hand my palm. Also, tell your editors to stop the presses because I can lead you to an enormous scoop. It's at a nearby construction site attached to a steam shovel. Now, I'm aware that all the cigar-chomping political pros have been calling me a loose cannon, but I will say this. I may be a loose cannon, but at least I have balls! Begging the pardon of the ladies. As for the charge that I evade the issues, I say, don't worry about me. I'm all right on the issues. I admit that I have a problem with my credibility, but my credibility is enhanced by admitting that I have a problem with it. Friends, I am not even expected to get 1 vote in this race. So if I do get 1 vote, it will constitute a victory for me. And my friends, I will get 1 vote because I intend to vote for myself. With all the opposition facing me, I will say in my defense that I am a self-made man. Then again, so was Frankenstein. Now, as I ask you for your support, you may say to yourself, well, I'm not ready to make a decision yet. And that's fine. But when I become president, don't come sucking around to me for any favors. My key issues are crime, economic development, education, and the environment. I don't have any opinions about them, they're just my key issues. Now, as an incentive to get you to vote for me, I was planning to throw candy at you, but I'm afraid that my sweet tooth got the better of me on the way over here. I will say one thing about my candidacy. I am for change. People often say, the system is money. I am not of the system. I have no money. I don't even have any spare change, do you? Can I have it? I'll take stamps and subway tokens too. Now, I do not propose to get in a grunting match with my opponents. I'm perfectly content to stand right here and grunt to myself. Regardless of what they say about me, I believe I will say this, I have no outstanding warrants for my arrest. I do have a few mediocre ones, but that's a mere bag of shells. Now, people accuse me of being gratuitously nasty. Why, I don't have a nasty bone in my body. Well, actually, I have 1 or 2, but I broke them. And some people say the wrong hero is crazy. To that charge, I answer, anyway, that reminds me of an anecdote. You know, folks, growing up, we didn't have much money, and we didn't even get to eat chicken that often. In fact, we only ate chicken once a week when the preacher man came a-calling. The other times we had steak and caviar, but that one time we had chicken when the preacher man came a-calling. Well, my mama, she pulled me aside, and usually she said to me, I'll snatch you bald-headed. But then this time, she said to me in her most loving voice when the preacher was fixing to come calling, she said to me, son, if you embarrass me in front of the preacher man, I'll beat the tobacco juice out of you. Well, sure enough, the preacher man came a-calling, and we were having chicken that night, and you know what he was doing? The preacher man was spearing all the best pieces of chicken for himself, and I couldn't stand it no more, so I popped up and I said, Mama, the preacher's gonna eat all the best pieces of chicken. Next thing I know, I woke up in the hospital, in traction, and late at night, and a little boy next to me was moaning about his little red wagon, and the nurse came up to me and said, and what do you want to be when you grow up, little boy? And I said, a jet pilot. And she said, that's impossible because you wear corrective lenses. However, you could become an air traffic controller. Well, regardless of my myopia and acute astigmatism, which prevented me from fulfilling my dream of being a jet pilot, a job in which I would have performed heroically and well, doing proud by this great land, regardless of short-sighted naysayers, pun intended, let it be said that I have a vision! A vision of a president who has the courage and the will to display sternness abroad and compassion at home. Or maybe it's compassion abroad and sternness at home. Or maybe it's just sternness both at home and abroad. Whatever you want, I will say whatever you want to get you to vote for me. That is my promise, and that, my friends, is my vision. For I am on the side of the real people. And I promise, if elected, not to appoint any robots or androids to my cabinet. I consulted my computer on this matter, and that's what it advised. And my response was, I hear and I obey, oh great one. Furthermore, I stand on record as opposing and denouncing the high-bound, purblind, beltway elitism. At least, that's what my advisors in Washington, D.C. told me would sell. It is these elites who run things who are the enemy. What I'm really trying to say is, let me run things, and then I'll be the enemy. But at least I will admit it. How do I respond to my opponent's criticisms that I am weak and indecisive? Actually, I'm of two minds about that, so let me get back to you on that one. But I will say this to those who have accused me of being a hothead. I am the mainstream of hotheads. Too often, people talk about the arrogance of the powerful. I would like right now to discuss the arrogance of the powerless. I will crush them for being arrogant, and I will get away with it because they can't fight back. Anyway, on the one hand, I am asking you for your votes. On the other hand, I shouldn't have to ask. You should have already gotten the message by now. I deserve your votes. Otherwise, fuck you and the vote you rolled in on. Oh, I'm sorry. I must have gotten Bob Dole's campaign speech mixed in with my papers. Of course, when I said I would crush the powerless, I hope you realize I was only speaking metaphorically. Actually, I am a man of tolerance and peace. And I often find myself, in the course of my philosophical ruminations, thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if men and women could get along? But then I realized it would be an even better world if men and men would stop fighting. And if and when the time should come that women and women should start fighting, I would be glad to pay a premium price for a videotape of such an incident for my library. I want you to know that you are the most important people I am going to talk to all day. I need you to play a leadership role in my campaign. In other words, I want your money. At this time, you can be a major player in my campaign. In other words, I want a lot of your money. You are all all great Americans. In other words, not only do I want your money, but that of your friends as well. Now, some have said I do not have a chance to win in this race for the presidency. Now, if I really believed that, do you think for 1 minute I'd be standing here sucking up to you animals?
Filthy monkeys, you!
That's right, filthy monkeys. By the way, regardless of what you may think, I am no stranger to public appearances. I have been the featured attraction at many a county fair, also at many freak shows and roadside zoos. After all, a gig's a gig. Now, if elected, I promise to bring in all the best people. Of course, I'll send them all home the very next day. But after all, it's the thought that counts. Besides, how smart can they be if they're willing to work for me? Now let me recite verbatim the conversation that this interesting man in the wool hat is having in the pointy window. Peter Wolf was sitting here. He's really like groovy, man, and far out. Like I've always loved Peter Wolf, man. He's my idol. It has been said that we live in a troubled time for civilized discourse. My friend in the wool hat.
Yeah, hi.
It has been said that we live in a troubled time for civilized discourse. Therefore, I suggest you shut the fuck up and let me talk.
Let's see some skin! Yeah! Bring it on!
I say, fuck the rules. I'm making this up as I go along. And I'll say another thing too. You're so boring, I could snore. You're so stupid, I could scream. In this race, I pledge that I will candidly and openly prevaricate.
Oh my god. See some skin.
You see, I am the only honest man in politics. And I must admit, I stole that slogan from someone else. I will say to you now that, if elected, my foreign policy will be to enthrone tyrants and doom freedom. In other words, it will be business as usual at the State Department. If you're gonna throw shit, throw pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars. All right, a quarter. Hot diggity. That's 1/4 of my campaign budget.
See some ass?
You need tweezers to see it. Here's where I stand on the other major issues. I favor gun control, except for assault weapons and armor-piercing bullets. As for school prayer, I believe there should be a moment of silence in public schools and a moment of noise in Bible schools. I support all affirmative action quotas, but only when they favor me. I oppose the death penalty, except for people I just don't like. And I think there should be a tax on capital gains of 100%, so nobody can be rich except me. Now, can you guys tell me what capital gains are? Me neither. Who gives a shit? Now, you listen to me and listen good. I ain't gonna let no slippery, lifted pinky finger, Madison Avenue ad executive package what I have to say. Because I don't believe in that. Besides, they cost too much. In this election, I promise that I will promise something for every city, town, and community I visit. handicaps in this race. I'm old. I'm repulsive. I'll steal anything that's not nailed down. And I'm too smart and cynical to tell the truth. In other words, I have at least one thing in common with everybody else who's running in this election. And that, in a nutshell, is why you should elect me. Is your asses itching yet? Oh, would. Let me make this clear. I am against anti-government violence. It is my belief that only the government should have a monopoly on violence. But otherwise, it is my firm belief that I know what the people want. Because I am the avatar of the moron zeitgeist. Got me a piece of candy. Well, you know, that's one of my campaign promises. Okay, I'm winding it down now, all right? Jesus Christ. So, I'll do a little monitor surfing. Well, maybe not. I say this to you. Don't elect men in bow ties who care more about themselves than you. And don't elect men in neckties which are knotted so tight they cut off the flow of blood to the brain. Elect me, a man with no neck at all. People have asked me, why am I running for president? And my answer is simple and straight to the point. I am running for president so I can stay out of jail. For one of the terms of my probation is that I actively seek full-time employment. In this great country we call America, as opposed to some other name like former British colonies or Disney World or Frank Sinatra land, in these great United States of ours, there are limits to what we ought to be willing to tolerate. And my job is to test these limits to the breaking point, and that's what I've been doing these past 25 minutes. My beliefs are simple and straight to the point. Advertising is the Stalinization of commodities. Commodities are our household gods. Big business is the religion of selfishness. And with beliefs like these, I won't be picking up any corporate sponsors anytime soon. Of that, I can assure you. I am neither of the left or of the right. I believe a socialist is a hobo with a PhD. I believe a conservative is a socialist who wants all the money for himself. And I believe that the United States is a uniquely great country where you can say whatever you want just so long as you do as you're told. In my candidacy, I hope to raise the level of public discourse by intoning a childish, inoffensive public policy mantra like jobs for Americans or say no to drugs until the gullible and hypnotized masses follow me, cattle-like, to the path leading to their own slaughter. And let me say this. I, for one, am sick of the sanctimonious liars who run and rise to positions of great power in this country. Don't we deserve some avowedly godless, blasphemous, and profane liars for a change? If elected president, I intend to address the source of all our woes, big government, while doing nothing about corporate control of big government. Because nobody is that crazy, not even me. So my policy will be to have even less government and even more complete corporate control. Lenora Fulani, I'm not. But I try. As president, and this, you guys from West Virginia?
Yeah.
You guys might be interested in this.
Yeah, we are.
As president, I pledge to abolish the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, because that will get me a lot of votes in West Virginia. And I also pledge to never abolish alcohol, tobacco, or firearms, because then Southerners would have nothing to do in their spare time. Now, I don't care if the corrupt political culture of Washington, D.C. refuses to accept me, just so long as they let me in on some of that corruption there.
I know how you feel.
Cool. You know, one time, talking about healthcare issues, one time I had a stupid hemorrhage. That's because I wasn't smart enough to have a cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh my God.
You know, America now imprisons more people per capita than Russia or South Africa. And, you know, some soreheads still insist that there's no such thing as progress. And now I'd like to discuss another serious topic before I go. Washington, D.C. I do not want to move to Washington, D.C. To me, Washington is an evil city, overrun by fat cat lobbyists who want to bribe you with suitcases full of cash, love-starved bimbos, and all-expense-paid junkets to Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. I do not want to go to such an evil city. But if you elect me as your president, I promise I will do my duty and reluctantly take up residence there, even though I am shocked at some of the sordid goings-on there. Now, in my campaign, I do not intend to pander to the religious right, but I will mention that Jesus Christ, God Almighty, is my campaign manager.
Jesus Christ.
I was going to pick Einstein as my campaign manager, but I was afraid he knew too much. Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, guys. 2 more minutes and I'm done. I'll get to the bear. Now, in the course of this boring speech, I hope I have impressed you with my brilliantly boring comments. This phrase can be defined by one word: integrity. And I want you to remember something. Integrity is like oxygen. You need it to live, but it can blow up in your face. Also, it catches fire rather easily. Also, if you mix integrity with hydrogen, then you get water. And maybe I should have quit while I was still ahead. But if I wanted to quit while I was still ahead, I would have never gotten up here in the first place.
Oh my God.
In this race, I have too much integrity to denounce my opponents. I have too much integrity to demonize my opponents, because I'm afraid that if I do, they will cast a satanic spell on me.
It's just intolerable.
People say I'm tactless, intolerable. I like to think of myself as courageous, fearless. Fearless because I speak out and say things that other people only whisper. Things like, hey mister, your fly is open. Things like, quiet please, this is a library. Things like, I'm really very sorry, but I got laryngitis. To conclude then, you could applaud at this point. History may little note nor long remember my candidacy for the presidency. Actually, there's no may about it. History will forget, period. And so will you. So why do I bother? It all comes down to one word: stupidity. I came in second in a stupidity contest. I would have come in first if this election is to be truly representative of the electorate on whose behalf it is being waged. Because stupid people like you deserve representation, even though you're too stupid to realize it. So on election day, when you pull that switch or lever or thingamajig or whatever you call it, remember, vote for me, because I'm too dumb to steal. Vote for me, because I don't believe in organized crime, I believe in organized chaos. If I have one final message to share with you, it is probably this. Message, I don't care! So remember, politics is sports. I think I could probably sift your brain through that sieve. And I don't think any pieces would cling to the top of it either. Actually.
Rip up the bear!
I see that one of my opponents has lost her diaphragm.
Rip up the bear!
That's my whole point in this race. Hey, here's an impression. John the Baptist's head on a platter. My friends, remember, politics is sports for people who are too fat to run and war for people who are too weak to fight. And now I'd like to thank you. You give good audience.
Rip up the bear!
I must mention to you that I call you my friends, even though you aren't. Because my real friends would never have let me talk this long. And now, before I go ahead and... I'd like to introduce my running mate. He shields me from... Are you a reggae musician or something? You know, reggae music is the sound of brain cells marching off a cliff. This is my running mate. He has not been listening very well to what I've had to say. In that... He has much in common with you. In fact, this bear is my link to the common people.
Rip them all up into little pieces!
Looks like somebody is losing their head.
Rip them up and get inside and get these Eat the bear! Rip him up and crawl inside him!
I'm gonna like fuck him through the hole in his neck. Would you like that? That'll cost you 20 bucks extra and it'll be at the end of the show.
Take off all your clothes!
Here's what I have to say to you.
Get inside the bear!
Die! Die!
Get inside the bear! Become the bear!
I guess these are the simple bare necessities of life.
Eat it! Put your genitals into the bear! Eat the bear!
You know you're gonna have to clean this up.
Strip naked and roll around in the stomach!
That's the best damn campaign idea I've heard all day.
companies, we have a different idea about stock growth, market indicators, even futures. Florida's natural...
Greetings. Welcome to Cafe Cabaret. Tonight we are presenting the wrong hero in the Republic's Nemesis. Thank you for tuning in on this election evening. I know there's probably not more than 3 or 4 of you watching this, but I don't really care. So anyway, the race is probably pretty much wrapped up by now. I mean, so here he is, the wrong hero, giving his campaign speech in a presentation entitled The Republic's Nemesis. Hi, I'm the wrong hero. Welcome to my election night coverage of Campaign 96. Glad you could make it. And I think to start things off, I'm going to tell a little joke. Seems as though the candidates, stop that sneezing. Seems as though the candidates, come here. This is my vice presidential candidate, Mona the German Shepherd. Come here. Come over here. Come on, it's not that hard. Get up on it. Come on, that's it. Good girl. This is how I talk to all my vice presidentials. Yeah, there you go. Hey, watch the hat. Watch the hat. There. How's that? Mighty dignified. She looks a lot more dignified, as a matter of fact, than Pat Choate at this moment. Anyway, seems as though the candidates for president were at the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And, well, Bill Clinton looks up at Jesus on the cross and says, Jesus, I feel your pain, and I promise if I'm reelected that I will provide guaranteed health coverage for every crucified Nazarene. Now a Roman centurion came up to him and said, hey, come on now, move along. And Bill Clinton says, and I promise that I will put 100,000 centurions on the streets of Jerusalem if I am reelected. Meanwhile, Bob Dole's looking up there at Jesus and saying, come on, Jesus, that wound ain't so bad. You should have seen the one I got in World War II. Come on, don't be a sissy. Walk it off, come on. And Ross Perot was there, and he said, you know, it just goes to show, whenever you try to do something different in this here election, they up and crucify you. And then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And Ross Perot said, now, Jesus, it just ain't right to go crying to your daddy every time you get into a scrape. Now, Ralph Nader was there, and he said, that crucifix symbolizes the two-party duopoly which has dominated our political discourse, much to its detriment. And Pat Buchanan was there, too, and he said, hey, don't give him no vinegar sponges. Isn't that just like a Nazarene to take something just because it's free, even if they don't want it? You know, lousy foreigner. Listen, Jesus, why don't you go right back where you came from? And the sky split open, and the hand of God reached down and took Jesus up to heaven. And Harry Brown, the Libertarian candidate who was standing by, said, there's yet another example of big government intruding where they're not wanted. Anyway, a charming joke, one which, of course, the Christian Coalition will probably enjoy if they haven't put me on their blacklist already, and I'm sure that they will by now. Anyhow, I thought maybe I would read you my speech, my nomination speech, and I'm sorry, my concession speech. That's it, my concession speech. That's what it'll be. Well, you know, actually, it's by no means clear that I have, in fact, lost the election because the results from California aren't in yet because there's a 3-hour time difference and the polls haven't closed. What's that? The polls just closed? Well, yeah, but all the results aren't in. The projection is that I lost resoundingly, in fact, got not one vote in California. Well, I still say that all of the polls, I mean, all of the votes have not yet been counted, and I refuse to concede this election until I know for sure that I have, in fact, lost. Well, anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe by the time this show's over, we'll have more up-to-the-minute information about whether the wrong hero has won this election. Well, anyway, I may not have won the presidency, but at least I'll be able to join the honor roll of those who tried. Namely, Walter Jenkins, Wilbur Mills, Fanny Fox, Wayne Hayes, Elizabeth Ray, Barney Frank, Gary Hart, Donna Rice, Jennifer Flowers, Paula Jones, Bob Packwood, those who tried to avoid scandal but were caught up in it anyway through accident or through design. In my case, through design. Speaking of scandal, now at the Republican convention, Representative Susan Molinari claimed she only experimented with marijuana. Well, you know, that's reasonable. I mean, hey, I experimented with marijuana too for 23 years because I wanted to make sure I got it right. Now there I was in the lab atop my sinister mountaintop fortress with the beakers and the electrodes and the hunchback assistant going, those fools at the university, they called me mad. Mad! Yeah, I'll admit it. I smoked marijuana in college. My secret? I didn't exhale. Until now. But now that I've given up drugs, exactly 10 seconds ago, isn't that convenient? You know, I gotta say, parties with the buddies, it's not quite the same anymore. You know, there's something missing. Like, you know, there we are out in the woods, like, hey man, get a hit of that air. Hold it in, man, hold it in. That stuff's expensive. Wow, everything's like black and gray. That's because it's 12 midnight. 12 midnight. Wow. It's like, hey, get a drink of that water. Oh, fucking A, man. Fucking H2O, man. This is the best goddamn water I've ever had. Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Yeah, well, you know, the thing about people on drugs you gotta watch out for. People on drugs notice everything. It's like, hey man, nice vomit. It glitters. It glitters! It glitters! So, anyhow, let's get back to the main point here. Me, I am not guilty of using drugs, but I am guilty of pretending to be on drugs, so I would like you all to pretend to call the police. In this race, the watchword of my campaign shall be contemptus mundi, contempt of the world. I don't mean by that I hate ordinary people. Who am I kidding? Of course I hate ordinary people. Well, anyway, I'd like to take this opportunity to say that this election is about addressing the abuse of the words about and addressing. I'd also like to mention that my charm is merely the smiley face of my all-consuming tyrannical might. Let me also say that I want to fight people, not problems. And the truest thing you can say about me is that when I spit on you people, I never spit straight up into the air, for you are all below me. Not only am I over your head, but you are also beneath my notice. Now, I refuse to release my medical records, but I got a Jane Fonda exercise LP that you can drool over. Now, if I do happen to win this race against crushing, staggering odds, it will mean that I am living proof that little minds also think alike. Now, Ross Perot said in 1995 that he would sooner perform brain surgery on himself than to get involved in politics again. Well, I have news for him. I have performed brain surgery on myself, and that's why I'm in politics, because the operation was not a success, and now I'm useless for anything else. Yes, I did brain surgery on myself, but what I really needed was a charisma transplant. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. When people tell me I stink and I ought to get out of the race, I say to them, that's a very interesting idea that's never occurred to me, and I'd like to think about it before responding. Now, in this race, I'm not going for the soccer moms, but I am willing to sock it to your moms. Not your moms, mind you. You know what I'm saying. Maybe, well, anyway. I'm not insulting your mothers, okay? Shh, 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 shh. If you must talk among yourselves, talk only of my greatness, for you are now entering the zone of solipsism. I intend to bring some controversy to this race, so let me fearlessly take my stand and say that farms are important. Lakes are full of fish. The future is tomorrow. You can't spell freedom without the freedom to use the word free or freedom. Icebergs are a threat to the merchant marine. Clocks are big and machines are heavy. Now, on the way over to the studio, I went from 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. And now I'm 99 years old. Nevertheless, I'm still younger than Bob Dole. Now, my critics have charged me with stealing from the bodies in the homes of dead people. As my lawyer will explain, there is a logical explanation for all of the items I have in my possession, including an allegedly stolen dog dish with the name of the deceased's dog inscribed on the side of it. Did you know it is now illegal in 12 states to disparage fruits and vegetables? If elected, I will make it illegal to disparage fruits, vegetables, and the wrong hero. Now, crime is a pressing issue in this race. There is a great debate over crime. Who is responsible for all this crime? Criminals? Well, elect me, and there will be no more question about who is responsible for crime. I will be responsible for crime. Now, if elected president, I pledge no more politics as usual. I pledge something worse than politics as usual. My motto in this race is simple. To quote Joseph Conrad, exterminate all the brutes. Now, I don't have a left-wing animus for the system. My animus is completely nonpartisan. And if you don't believe me, you can kiss my animus. Now, I don't care about the two-party system. The only party I care about is the cocktail party after this broadcast. Now, I believe that the voice of the people is the voice of God. In other words, in words that everybody can understand, vox populi, vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. I believe that. The voice of the people is the voice of God. Well, not really. I'm just saying that so you'll vote for me. Christ, how pathetically gullible and naive can you be? Well, anyway, if elected, I promise to provide a better future for America's children, or at least to infantilize public discourse so that we all become America's children. Now let me say this. If elected, I promise to wreck this country by wrecking and reversing all of the symbols of law and authority, just for a change of pace. Now, in my administration, we may never be guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors, but rest assured, there will be plenty of cover-ups all the same. And when I'm caught, my excuse will be, it was more than stupid, it was wrong, which is why I did it. Now, I can't chum around with God as much as I'd like to, because the nature of my work precludes friendships with my peers. Now, I am not a biased empiricist or a narrow dogmatist. I am a caveman. I stand for the working troglodyte, the little ape being forced out of his warren by the hairless monkeys. I believe we should enact a new Monroe Doctrine, a Marilyn Monroe Doctrine. I hope I'm not out of line. I promise, if elected, to paint all the black helicopters blue and white and fly them only in the daytime. If elected, I promise I will replace the gas-guzzling presidential limousine with a go-kart. In this campaign, I have tried to provide a kinder, gentler smear campaign. My motto has been, when in doubt, slur your words. When really in doubt, slur your opponents. Now, you may be asking yourself, is there no limit to my blather? The answer is no, not really. Now, I'm not padding this speech, and yet, still, moreover, to be sure, however, in any event. But crazy things have happened this election year. Did you know that a burning ship carrying 70,000 sheep disappeared in the Indian Ocean, and not one candidate has taken a stand on this burning issue? Not even Dick Lamb? I must say that, for me, politics is not a moral imperative. Politics is not a personal preference. Politics is just something to keep me busy until election day. Now, as for the charge that I'm trigger happy, I have this to say. I was in my own home and I shot my own TV, and when I did it, I could afford to buy a new one, so what's the big controversy? You know, all these negative ads we've been seeing on television only encourage us not to vote for anyone at all. Of course, I approved. I was counting on this fact to win, because my candidacy had a lot of potential. In other words, it's over. File it and forget it. Lock the file and throw away the key. Now, all of you people who refused to vote for me, either you're all morally suspect or you're all lacking in compassion. The left-wingers were morally suspect, part of a sort of countercultural industrial complex of scofflaws and drug takers and people on the dole, and all of you right-wingers, totally lacking in compassion, robotic, flinty greed heads. All you care about is money. So anyway, who needs you? Actually, I do. So do me a favor and sneak into the ballot box there, break into the polling booth, and take your ballot and cross out whoever it was you voted for, and vote your conscience. Don't vote for anyone at all. You know, I really do hope you voted for me, because I've been trying so hard to be genuinely likable. I really have. Now, if I act a bit over-exuberant at times, it's because I am intoxicated by the wild gas of liberty. But if it bothers you, I can open a window and spray some air freshener around for you. Now, Lewis Lapham has recently said that public policy is made hostage to public relations. And what I want to know is, what's so bad about that if it creates new jobs? This sore head, you know? After all, as J.F. Cooper has said, they say is the monarch of this country. And in spite of my frequent red-faced outbursts against the utter imbecility of everyone who is voting against me, I agree. You know, I seem to provoke two types of reactions. Either people want to lynch me if I win, or people want to lynch me win or lose, just on general principles. Why do people dislike me? Well, okay, it's true. My morning breath could topple an anvil, melt an X-Acto blade, and scorch a Geiger counter. But you don't have to get that close to me. You know, people are always saying I'm always trying to attract attention to myself. Well, you don't have to look at me. And if you plug your ears up with cotton, you don't really have to listen to me either. And for that matter, if you avoid any room that I happen to be in, well, then, you don't have to deal with the consequences of my always trying to attract attention to myself. Now, do ya? Jeez, Manise, what a sorehead. Yeah, you're a real sour ball. Get out of it, get off of it, It's like, give me a break. Cut me some slack, Jack. Yo! Anyway, as Archilochus has said, the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. And the alligator, who has a PhD in physical education, can't even find a job in the public school system. And what's this country coming to anyway? Either everybody's totally underqualified or they're overeducated, and doesn't seem to be any happy medium. I tried to strike a happy medium, and she called the police and had me arrested for assault. Anyway, yeah, that little beep you keep hearing, that's my pacemaker. I got to turn the microwave oven off, or else I won't be able to finish this speech. Watching me slam down a pint of coffee in one gulp is probably the most entertainment you've had all night. Tell you what, I'll give you permission to do a little channel surfing right now. Go ahead. I won't say anything. I won't say anything amusing, not that I have been anyway, for the next 30 seconds or so. So, flick around the dial. Tum-dee-dum-tum-tum-tum-tum. Tum-tum. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Dum-dee-dum-dum-dum-dum. I'm not saying anything funny. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Look at this ad. What the hell? Ah! It's like, what in tarnation? Well, what's this country coming to when you see ads like this, huh? I'll tell you, this whole country's going straight to hell in a handbasket, and no one ain't doing nothing about it. No, and look at this one. Gazillion? What kind of word is that? It's not a word. Gazillion? And it's like, what's in here? Soldiers don't get to smoke anymore, except in hospitals. In fact, they're the only people who are allowed to smoke in hospitals. Bill Clinton blinks a lot, but Gore doesn't because he's a robot, right? Dole blinks like even more than Clinton, and Kemp hardly blinks at all, because of his special secret medicine. Say cheese. What else is in here? Granny pouches. Tum-dee-dum-dum-dum. I'm not saying anything interesting. Oh, look at that. Look at that cute thing. And the baby's kind of nice, too. Dum-dee-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Clings to a surface so well, you'll swear you have superpowers. Hey, that's my franchise, okay? Anyway, Spider-Man doesn't really have superpowers. He has spider powers. I wish these people would get us straight. And here we go. Was Vietnam JFK's war by that arbiter, that unselfish, unbiased arbiter of historical opinion, Oliver Stone? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Of course, this magazine is like 2 weeks old, so, I mean, if you haven't read it already, you're not going to learn anything new. So, I'm not saying anything interesting. Go do your channel surfing. I'm sure whoever's won the race has already won it, and the networks have been clambering over each other to be the first to announce it, even though everybody hates it when they do that. Here we go. Arrgh! Well, what else we got here? Well, Bill Clinton doing the thing that he does best. What else we got here? Tum-tum-tum-tum-tum-tum-tum. Okay. What's this? A A money trail linking the Democrats with wealthy Indonesians raises questions about cash and power. Duh. Huh. So what? I mean, who cares who gives them the cash? I'd say better that the Indonesians should give them cash, right? Because, I mean, you know, it brings money into this country. Well, what's the problem here? Al Gore's curse isn't that he's dull, it's that he's the perfect vice president. Well, I'll agree with you on that. Interview with Louis Farrakhan, okay, great. Movies that have been flops. Geronimo, which I've never even heard of. Mary Riley, which the only good thing going for it was, like, the logo. Mary Riley. And The Cable Guy. Cost $59 million. Box office $60 million. Yeehaw! Well, he made a cool million. Come on, a cool mill. A supermarket would like not be going out of business if it made that kind of a profit margin. Come on, it's better than 1%, and it's almost 2% profit. I mean, that's the kind of margin of, you know. I mean, so well maybe when the cable guy is out on Cable Guy, that'll make even more money, and they'll recoup their investment and then some. You can always count on Jim Carrey recouping his investment overseas, because foreigners like to look at guys with rubber features, and that's why they think in France that Jerry Lewis is a genius, right? Let's see. You know, I got a lot of time to kill. That's why I'm doing this. I hope you're like doing your channel surfing or your bathroom duties or walking the dog or stepping outside for a hit of crack or whatever it is you people do while I'm doing this, because I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny. You know, I'm not doing anything amusing or scandalous yet. So I'm just looking through Newsweek from 2 weeks ago. I guess it's actually Olds Week, huh? Now that was funny, very spontaneous of me. Yeah, so if I do say so myself. And I guess the New Republic from 2 weeks ago is the Old Republic, all right? And let's see, what's this? Oh, why it's Jerry Lewis. Speak of the devil, so to speak, as in, you know, he's playing the devil in Damn Yankees, right? Speak of the devil. Another example of my spontaneous wit. Jerry Lewis, and he appears. I don't know if you can see this. Lady! Yeah, anyway. Here we go. What glamour. Am I even worthy to touch this? Oh, whoa. Hot, hot, hot. What's this? What's all the fuss about? The president's kid gets married. Okay, fine. You don't see him making this kind of a fuss when Harry Truman's daughter got married, now did ya? Or when Ross Perot's daughter got married? Making her own rules. Oh, please. What's this? You know she's going to blow up the poster size right after she gets pregnant. I don't care. All right? Posing for a 1991 fashion shot in Boston. Does it look like she's humping the bulbous hood of this Ford, or what? Just a walk in the dog. You know, when one of the beautiful people walks their dog, it's far more interesting than one of the ugly people does anything, you know. Speaking of the ugly people, here we go. It's the OJ action figure. Bloody gloves sold separately. Let's see. Here's the kid that kissed the little girl in elementary school, and you know, he caught a lot of grief for it. I hear Clinton's thinking of making him his vice president, you know, sort of pull the flack away, or at least appointing him to a very high position. Maybe George Stephanopoulos' old job, because after all, you know, no one would really notice the difference now, would they? Let's see what else we got here. Well, the first book of the Bible becomes the subject of a major television series. Wow, wow, wee. Let's see. God creates the world in 6 days, and on the Sabbath day he goes bowling. Adam and Eve eat the forbidden fruit and are later expelled from Eden, and the forbidden fruit isn't particularly really happy about it either. Knock, knock, knock. Cain slays his younger brother Abel and then asks famously, can I have a gold-headed Cain? Noah, his family, and lots of animals survive the flood that covers the earth. And Noah gets drunk and says, hey, fuck it. Throw the animals overboard. Bring the fish up here. Humans build Tower of Babel. God scatters them and creates different languages. Now, of course, we have television towers. I should draw some incredibly profound analogy here, but I won't. God makes a covenant with Abraham to make him the father of nations. Despite Abraham's pleas, God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah, unable to find 12 just men. God asks Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. For some stew, Esau, son of Isaac, sells his birthright to his twin brother Jacob. To receive his father's blessing, Jacob dons goatskins to impersonate Esau. Why does he go through this elaborate charade just to get his father's blessing? I mean, I don't know, couldn't he have hired a stand-in or something? I don't know. Anyway, Jacob encounters an angel and they wrestle. The angel renames Jacob Israel, which is the first example of a wrestler using a ring pseudonym, incidentally. Joseph, Jacob's favorite child, is sold into slavery by his jealous brothers, which is one hell of a way to get back at your pesky kid brother, let me tell you. This is supposed to be a campaign speech. I'm just demonstrating my profound knowledge of the Bible here. Joseph, Jacob's favorite child, in Egypt, Joseph correctly interprets Pharaoh's dreams and rises to power. Nowadays, of course, he'd have his own show on the Psychic Friends Network. Joseph is reunited with his brothers and father as they come to Egypt seeking food. The 12 tribes of Israel settle in Egypt. There's the Exodus, and then we get to the next book. All right, cool. What else we got here? Oh, they call Genesis a mythic narrative. How controversial. There's the San Francisco Library that there's no books in. That's great, a library with no books. What's this, Sigourney Weaver? Did she say something bad? No. Okay. Ooh. Courtney Love. The pompatus of love. Ooh. Ooh, well, dog is. You look good enough to take to Chinatown. And finally, Cher. Airbrushed. Now, well, as long as I got a lot of time to kill here, I would like to give one of my campaign pledges at this time to rename all of America's major cities. Los Angeles will be called Lax. Washington will be called Weeduck. Baltimore will be called Bwy. Denver will be Den. San Francisco will be Sifo. Honolulu will be called Hunnel. Detroit will be Detroit. And let's see, Miami will be Maya. Norfolk will be Orf. New York will be Liga. Phoenix will be Fix. Las Vegas will be Lass. Louisville will be Siddif. Seattle will be C. Orange County will be Sna. Memphis will be Mem. Dayton will be Day. Salt Lake City will be Slick. Oklahoma City will be Uck. Springfield, Missouri will be Sigif. Chicago will be Ord. Houston will be Howl. Shreveport will be Shiv. Kansas City will be Mickey. West Palm Beach will be Pibby. Steamboat Springs will be Hidden. Knoxville will be Twist. Little Rock will be Lit. Cedar Rapids will be Sid. Lincoln will be Ink. Austin will be Os. Albuquerque will be Abic. Tulsa will be Tull. Newark will be Ear. Raleigh-Durham will be Rideau. New Orleans will be Missy. Wichita will be Icht. Dallas will be Diffwa. Jackson, Mississippi will be Jan. Indianapolis will be Ind. Tampa will be Tippa. Des Moines will be Dissum. St. Louis will be Siddle. Providence will be Pivd. Cleveland will be Cleve. Fort Lauderdale will be Flu. Omaha will be Oma. Philadelphia will be Phil. Boston will be Boss. Reno will be Reno. Portland will be Pix. Jacksonville will be Jax. Milwaukee will be Mickey. Nashville will be Binna. Charlotte will be Clint. San Jose will be Sidgick. Colorado Springs will be Koss. Pittsburgh will be Pitt. Moline will be Millie. Hartford will be Biddle. Ontario, California will be Aunt. Fort Myers will be Rissel. San Diego will be Sam. Minneapolis will be Misp. Sioux Falls will be Fist. Columbus, Ohio will be Come. Cincinnati will be Simig. Atlanta will be Edel. Sarasota will be Cirque. San Antonio will be Sat. Orlando will be Miko. Sacramento will be Smith. And of course, you know, these are the names of the cities on luggage tags at the airport. You'll be happy to know. So, anyway, I think I'll finish up with this speech here. And then I don't know what I'll do to kill the rest of this time. Anyway, where was I? I say to you now, let us come before our Maker in prayer, especially if, through some miracle, I win this election. Sure, my enemies have made allegations that I'm arrogant, even downright crazed. But the truth of those allegations is irrelevant. Why? Because I say so. For I am the wrong hero, so sweet and sensuous and succulent, you'll be tempted to eat me with a fork. But don't. You won't want to miss one drop of the goodness. Here then is my plea. Please give generously to my campaign. Then hit the road, for all is not lost. I predict a late swing to my candidacy. It may happen after I've already lost, but time will bear me out. You know, I can still remember the day I lost my innocence about politics. My feet were still dirty from the rice field, and if you knew what they use to fertilize rice, you'd be saying to yourself, how appropriate. Now, people say my campaign is too old-fashioned. People say I should buy a computer. Why? So I can keep track of my disintegration at the speed of thought? So I can capture my decline and fall on a floppy disk? So I can fuck up in cyberspace too? Is that why I should buy a computer? Well, right now, I'm going to forget my dignity for a moment and get right in your faces. Please, love me. In this race, I will admit, I have failed to control the agenda. In fact, I'm not even sure what that means. Does that have something to do with the agenda gap they're always talking about? You know, I should have won in the South, at least in the South. Because, you know, in the South, they used to have slavery, and I'm still in favor of it. In the South, they always defend a losing cause. Well, I'm a losing cause if you ever saw one. In the South, they hate Abraham Lincoln. Well, I'm not too crazy about Abraham Lincoln myself. And, you know, in the South, you know, they don't like the Bureau of Tobacco, Alcohol, and Firearms. Well, hell, you know, tobacco, alcohol, and firearms, that's like the story of my life, you know? So I should have won in the South. I really should have. Because I got a lot in common with people in the South, people in the North, people in the Midwest. You name it, I'll pander to them. No constituency too small to pander to. Well, regardless of the outcome of this race, I still believe in our system of checks and balances. But you know, I wish that just a few more of those checks would have come my way. Now, I hear that NASA wants to send a space probe to Mars. Now, I don't know what they expect to find there because, you know, there is no life on Mars. I killed them all for being too warlike. Well, okay, I've been doing a little channel surfing myself, and it looks as though I've lost this race, much as it pains me to admit it. But do not mistake the dampness under my eyes for tears. They're melting snowflakes. I know I'm indoors and it's 70 degrees out, but I don't care. I'm sticking to my story. Now, people have asked me, why the mask? Is it because you are a collective character? A symbol for millions of people fighting for their future? And I reply, no. It's because I'm a notorious character, wanted by millions of police. And if they catch up with me, I have no future. So, what I really look like is none of your business. That's what I say to them. But, you know, I don't care which way the wind is blowing in this race, because I live in the eye of a hurricane. Maybe I haven't let my human side come through in this race. Maybe it's because I don't have a human side. Maybe it's because I'm not human. Maybe, but why go on? Well, because I like to say, maybe. But then again, maybe, why not? Vision, pragmatism, persuasiveness, charisma, credibility. These are 5 essential traits of successful presidents. These are 5 essential traits that I don't have. Well, I won't waste any time pointing out the many flaws of my opponents, but I will conveniently mention that they do have flaws. In other words, in the process of calling attention to the flaws of my opponents, I will take credit for not calling attention to them. Now, don't ask me to cite specifics. Don't confuse me with your facts, and I won't confuse you with mine. You know, there's an old saying, the truth hurts. And when I find some, I'll be the first to yell. Well, I have made an ambitious effort in running this campaign. By ambitious, of course, I mean a little bit brilliant and more than a little bit shabby. Now, if after all the votes have been counted, I have lost, so be it. What's that? All the votes have been counted? I have lost? Well, be that as it may. It doesn't matter, after all is said and done, who wins or loses. This is particularly true for people who lose. In fact, only a loser would say an idiotic thing like that. Now, as James Joyce once said, a man of genius makes no mistakes. His errors are volitional and are the portals of discovery. Of course, it takes a genius to figure out what the hell that's supposed to mean. In fact, only a genius would think that way. As a matter of fact, it's a pretty convenient excuse for losing, too, even if you aren't a genius. But if, in fact, I have actually lost, and I'm not conceding anything just yet. After all, it's only 10:30. They couldn't possibly have counted all the votes by now. I mean, aren't the polls still open in Hawaii? I mean, what if it's so close, it's not that close at all? Well, let's just say that, like, I win Hawaii or something, or Alaska, I don't know, and the Electoral College, like, gets a good look at how great I am, and they all change their votes and vote for me. I could still win. I mean, it's, the race is not over yet. It's over? Well, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to finish this, and then I don't want to hear another word about the election ever again until the year 2000 grown. Anyway. If in fact I have lost, I've actually won. Again, only a loser would say something like this. Even though I am an alien and I have lost your puny Earth election, which to me is merely the squabbling of mites on a plum, rest assured that you haven't heard the last of alien conspiracies of world domination. Because, whether I win or whether I lose, I predict that in the future, whatever is not forbidden will be compulsory. Now, before I go, I'd like to mention some books that have been very helpful. Some books that have helped me in this race. Books like The Age of Delirium, Hazardous Duty, The Making of a Catastrophe, and of course, Pandemonium. Let me get this. Hello? 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 I'm sorry, I can't talk just right now, thank you. 9X. Hello? My name is Michelle Bascatine. What kind of name is that? Michelle Bascatine? And I'm calling from 9X. Like, great. Just what I need, right? A call from my phone company. Isn't there something really odd about that? A call from your telephone company? I wonder how much they charge themselves to make these dunning or whatever the hell. Oh, would you consider changing to our service, or if you already have our service, would you consider listening to us for 10 minutes while we bore you half to death with our silly and foolish promises, which we don't intend to live up to? Oh, jeez, Manise. And this whole country's falling apart. I mean, a man can't even give a speech in the privacy of his own home without being assaulted by these telephone solicitors. And oh, let me tell you something else too. My truck broke down in Newton, Massachusetts, and I called the tow company. I called AAA. They called a tow company, and they said, well, it'll be like 45 minutes to an hour, and well, Lordsy me, and it's like 5 o'clock. It's 10 minutes to 5, and after about 40 minutes, the guy shows up, from the tow company. And get this, I raised the hood, and he looks under the hood. He pretends to give me a jump start, but he doesn't take the plastic mounting off of the battery thing, and he says, "Oh well, gee, I don't know. I can't seem to get it started. Guess I'll have to give you a tow to Providence, Rhode Island, which is 50 miles away, so I can take the money that AAA pays me and use it to buy cocaine." But I say, well, let's give it another shot, okay? So he tries to jumpstart the truck again, and he holds it in such a way that a big spark leaps out. And he says, oh, I don't know, it's arcing, I could try to start it, but the battery might blow up. And I go, well, that's a chance I'm willing to take. So, finally, I'm standing there watching him, and he finally hooks it up properly. And then, of course, the truck starts right up. And, it turns out the only thing that was wrong was that I had left the lights on, at lunchtime. Now, I don't know why. I guess I was doing a turn signal, and I accidentally flipped the headlights on or something, Gee, I hope I didn't do that this morning. Well, anyway. So, this country, it's going plumb straight to hell in a handbasket if you want my honest opinion. Anyway, those books I was mentioning have helped me very much. Other books that have helped me, of course, have been The Public Burning, and I'd like to recommend that Bob Dole read a few books like A Farewell to Arms and The Armies of the Night and Arms and the Man. He might learn something from those particular volumes. And let's see. Anyway, next election, I'll know better. Next election, here's how I'll be campaigning. I'll be traveling in a steel cage with a little air hole to scream my speeches out of, right? And I think I'll do a lot better. Now, in the year 2000, you could look forward to the spectacle of me, the wrong hero, as I, like William Jennings Bryan in 1896, beg for the presidency as a tramp might beg for a pie. Ralph Nader has said in this race, you need $60 million just to get on the screen. Unfortunately, I didn't hear the part about the million. So anyway, I only raised about 23 cents. That was the 23 cents that I got for turning in 4 empty cans of Yellow Jacket brand soda, plus the 3 cents I found on the counter. And I should mention that my corporate PAC has been Yellow Jacket soda, which of course is the soda in the yellow and black can, which is mostly sugar. It attracts yellow jackets, wasps, bees, mosquitoes, and other flying, stinging insects and insect pests and vermin. So it's ideal to take along on your picnic. Yellow Jacket soda. Look for the picture of the gigantic insect with the huge stinger pointed straight at you on the yellow and black can. Yellow Jacket soda. Now, it has been said of Dick Lamb, who challenged Ross Perot for the Reform Party nomination, that, quote, he completely lacks the paralytic fear of offending anyone. Well, as for me, I have a paralytic fear that somehow, somewhere, there is someone who is not offended by me. But I promise that I will never be ashamed that I am without shame, or for that matter, any other distinguishing characteristics or qualities. Look, last page. I am not experienced in composing speeches. Can't you tell? My lack of experience shows in the transitions between each of my talking points, for there are none. Now, if, as it has been said, limits spark creativity, then I am the most creative candidate by virtue of being the candidate with the most limitations. Well, you may not trust me to take out your cat litter, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't have made a pretty good president. It's really quite sad. Now, I'd like you to get a good look at my vice presidential candidate, the German Shepherd, Mona Patry. Here she is. Now, there's an old saying, let sleeping dogs lie. But I think we can get a nice tight close-up here. There she is. Now, doesn't that face inspire you to do great things for your country? I know it inspires me. Well, Mona's going to go bye-bye in the truck. Want to go bye-bye in the truck, Mona? Mona, you want to go for a walk in the park? Mona! Mona, come here. You want to go for a walk in the park? You want to go bye-bye in the truck? That's how I talk to every vice presidential candidate I've ever had. No, Mona, not just yet. Maybe in about 10 minutes or so, after I wrap this up. Yep, there's 10 minutes to go. Well, actually 11 minutes, but hey, who's counting, right? So, anyway, let's talk a little bit about some of the highlights of the election. You know, at the convention, Jack Kemp spoke at the Republican convention. Boy, there's a real nightmare, huh? You're Bob Dole, you're losing, you're tanking. You know, and you gave up your Senate seat to run for president. You gave up being majority leader of the Senate so that, you know, Trent Lott, this cigarette-smoking Mississippian, can take your place. And and then you get saddled with your worst enemy as vice president. Really something. I can just see. Well, you know, and Kemp, he has, you know, basically, Jack Kemp has athlete's foot and mouth disease, you know? 2 for the price of 1. That's what I have to say about that. And Bob Dole, you know, well, he's an old guy, but in China, actually, that would be an asset. You know, you can see Deng up there going, Bob Dole? I hear a lot of promising things about that youngster Bob Dole. I hear he just got out of knee pants just last year. Yeah. But, you know, in this country, of course, you know, people have no respect for the elderly. You know, the thing about Bob Dole is so old that, you know, the food in his cupboard, the sell-by dates are in Egyptian hieroglyphics, you know. I mean, like there's a Cro-Magnon on his can of chicken noodle soup, you know, and it's on soup, good, you know, and Bob Dole, like soup, you know. Well, there's lots of diversity in the Republican Party. You know, there's the fundamentalists who are gun nuts. There are the fundamentalists who are into freeze-dried food, and they're not that crazy about guns, but they don't mind having them. There are the fundamentalists who suspect that Jesus was soft on communism, you know, and there's the fundamentalists who, you know, their bumper stickers, like, you always tell a fundamentalist, like, caution, Messiah on board, or I brake for compound fires, or David Koresh is my co-pilot, or in case of rapture, the pilot will vanish, but don't worry, I have cruise control. You know, the Democratic convention, that was really quite a corker. Jesse Jackson spoke at the Democratic convention. And the New York Times asked him, you know, Jesse, why didn't you speak during prime time? And Jesse replied, whenever I speak, it's prime time. Well, I'll tell you something. Whenever Jesse speaks, it's also rhyme time, you know? I mean, he's a great orator, and he kept it under control this time around, but, you know, you can just see him slipping one day. I say that you should be like the nun who has hope in her soul, and not like the prostitute who has taken a bath, who has soap in her. Oh, never mind. I say in the fight for social justice, you should not be like the nearsighted sharpshooter who shoots and never hits. You should be like the constipated owl who hoots and never, oh, never mind. You know, Jesse Jackson is probably if he were elected president, he'd probably be the first president to give the State of the Union address in iambic pentameter, you know. So, anyway. And Bill Clinton, you know, he was at the campaign. I kept on expecting him to go, you know, in this election, I will give you community development, gun control, flex time, daycare, and he rips off his mask and he's sugar bear and he's going, can't get enough of that sugar, kid. You know, Perot, you know, he picked Pat Choate for his vice president, and you know, at his convention, he should have picked that gorilla who rescued that baby at the zoo, because the gorilla had bigger ears and it was more humane than Perot, and would have made Perot look a little less like a troglodyte. And Perot, I used to imagine with his his campaign speech. Well, now some have said I'm a turn the punch bowl. I'm just about as welcome as a bastard as a family reunion. Well, politics is not a slapping contest between pantyweights, and when the bathtub overflows, you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Now, I was just flying over Area 54 the other day, and I was thinking, if I'm president, aliens will not blow up the White House. I will. Now, I'm here, you're there, God bless America, and Perot we trust. Thank you very much. Yes. Anyway. Where was I? This election. The election. Bob Dole. Bob Dole, he kind of made Walter Mondale look like Mr. Excitement, and like Bob Dole. Well, let's get back to where we were here. I used to be afraid of public speaking before a large audience, but I have succeeded in more or less overcoming that fear. Oh, maybe I should wear more than one hat in this election. Maybe that's my problem. Oh, you're looking at my hair. How's this? Hi. I'm the wrong hearer. I can hear now. Wow. I really am the wrong hearer. Oh, wow. Too much. Yes. Let's see now. Where was I? I say that a lot, don't I? Where was I? It's like, who am I? What am I doing here? Gosh darn it. Well, let's see. What can you say about a candidacy that was dead in the water before it ever really got off the ground, and which mixed so many metaphors that it was like, I don't know. Well, not much you can say at this point, I guess. Well, gee, it sure was nice talking to you, interacting with my public one-on-one. Well, I guess it's just about time for the 11 o'clock news. Unless, of course, CCTV started this thing late. At which point the 11 o'clock news would have already started, right? And, you'll have turned us off anyway. Sometimes, they only play an hour of this tape, so you might not be watching this at all because it might just be a blank screen. Or, sometimes they broadcast this on all 4 channels, right? So you're like flipping through the channels, and you're like going channel 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., etc. You hit channel 19, there I am, and then you hit the Sci-Fi channel and MTV, and you're flipping, and then channel 54, and then, oh my God, what is this? And you flip right away to channel 55, and there I am again, and you're really frightened now. So you're flipping and you're flipping and you're flipping and you're hoping, that you'll get the preview channel that'll tell you like what's on all the other stations, because you didn't buy the Sunday paper and you were too cheap to buy the TV guide, so you don't know what's on TV, and so unless you stole your copy of the TV listings from the Sunday paper from the library, but of course that would have been wrong. Not that they would have missed it, because they throw those papers out anyway after 3 months. But anyway, so there you are, right? And you're flipping through, and you see me on channel 54, channel 55, and and then you get up to channel 65 and go, whoa, thank God, oh, I was scared there for a minute. And then channel 66, and there I am. And this hat is too tight. A different person when I wear that hat. Well, truly it has been said, mein Hut es hat Dreiecke hat mein Hut, and wenn es hat nicht Dreiecke, es wollte nicht mein Hut. Which translated, that should be the German national anthem. What it really means is, My hat, it has three corners. Three corners has my hat. And if it did not have three corners, it would not be my hat. That was a big hit right after World War II in Germany. Because, you know, they didn't want any controversial songs like In Deutschland über alles. You know, they needed to have lyrics that were kind of stupid, basically, non-confrontational. Because, you know, I mean, couldn't really do that anymore. The you know, with the Germany, America kaputt. You know, couldn't have lyrics like that after World War II. Okay, I've been saving part of this speech for the end. I want you to remember this. WH not only stands for White House, it also stands for Wrong Hero. So, in effect, doesn't that mean that I deserve to be your president? To conclude then, let us never negotiate out of fear. Let us never negotiate at all. Let us learn how to pronounce negotiate. Let us argue. Let us fight. Let us not insist that we are right. Let us concede that the wrong hero is always wrong. For I am the wrong hero. I am the Republic's nemesis. You have been watching The Wrong Hero in his presentation of the Republic's nemesis. And so now, I guess, time to say bye-bye. Let's see if we can get a picture. Nice shot of the Vice President here. Here we go. If you want a transcript of this speech, forget it. The election's over. It's not relevant anymore. Why on earth would you want a transcript to begin with? What kind of people order transcripts? I mean, you know, if they had any brains at all, if they saw a show that they wanted to watch, and they had a VCR, which like millions of people have, all they have to do is like stick a goddamn $2 video cassette tape in the